what a gut punch it was when Jason Tatum on that first drive of the game,
first possession,
lands awkwardly on that left foot, rolls the ankle, and that impacted the entire game tonight. It impacted everything.
Everything. And it because you talk about that crowd and how this one started, and inside the NBA, they're all like, oh my God, it's so loud. Like, this is what I remember. This is what makes me miss basketball. Like playing on the floor and playing on a team so much. And that first possession deflated. The crowd, the broadcast, it was like you hoped that he could just shake it off. He just never looked the same.
No, and I was surprised that Miami did not attack him
Early.
a lot early. They did later in the pick and rolls in this game. But Miami, I mean, what more can you say? It's the other guy stepping up in such a big way. Jimmy Butler bounced back too. But Caleb Martin. Like, Caleb Martin averaged 9 points a game in the regular season. 9 points a game. And here he is in Game 7 on the road in a conference finals hitting big shots, hitting timely shots, not just hitting open corner threes. Yeah, he did that too. He's rebounding. He's competing. He's hitting turnaround jumpers, dagger shots. Caleb Martin in this Game 7 finishes with 26 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists.
He's my Eastern Conference Finals MVP.
And it went to Jimmy Butler. Were you surprised that it went to Jimmy over Caleb? I honestly think Caleb had a legit...
Caleb Martin played better in more games than Jimmy Butler. And I feel like that's usually who is supposed to get the MVP award. I think the narrative or the vibe around Jimmy Butler being the leader, being the guy that rallies them back or helps get them that 3-0 lead on the Boston Celtics, whatever. I think that's why he initially gets the vote, because he is their guy. But you're exactly right. It was Caleb Martin. How many times do we come on here after and talk about how, if it wasn't for Caleb Martin's offense, didn't think we'd be saying that in an Eastern Conference Finals. Like, it just incredible play by him. The story around this team, the undrafted guys, what we saw them accomplish at this level. And it shows you that anything from the G League and these guys, the way that they develop, the talent is there. You just sometimes have to give them a chance or the right situation.
And it really is a belief. And usually that stuff, when I hear that, I think that's so cliche. And like, oh, you just got to believe and you can do it.
Believe.
That Miami Heat team believed.
Yes.
And if anyone listened to Spoelstra or Butler after Game 6, when all of a sudden a 3-0 series lead turns into a 3-3 series tied and they lost in heartbreaking fashion when they had the lead on their home floor, they did not sound like a team who was rattled. And they just never seem rattled. I said it early in this series, Morgan, even if Miami loses games, it's not typically because, hey, they're not trying hard tonight. They're going to compete. They may not have it completely, but they're going to compete and have the mindset that we can do it. And Jimmy Butler having that type of belief based on his upbringing, that underdog mentality, just that grind mentality, the want, the thirst. You couple that with Spoelstra. You couple that with all those guys who have had to take different paths to the NBA. And it's pretty special because these guys don't have these crazy-ass egos. They're all pretty much guys who understand that they've had to work and play the right way to get to this point.
Yep.
And then they're seeing the results by getting back to the NBA Finals again.
They all, I mean, we talk about with so many teams that when we talk about their success, we call out the buy-in, right? Like everyone buying in to whatever the messaging is, whatever the culture is. And this squad really bought in all season long into that belief and into understanding the importance of team basketball and everyone trying to step up. And there was games that guys weren't stepping up. I think you can put Kyle Lowry on that list, but then tonight, what a great way to step up in a Game 7. He didn't have to have the biggest game in the world, but he just had a solid game. His stat line, he finished with 7 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. And he was 1 for 2 from 3-point land. And I mentioned that because the Heat finished 50% on the night from 3-point land.
Well, that's a big story in the series. When you look back at the series, the 3-point shooting, which you thought would have favored Boston, completely favored Miami for the majority of this series. Boston, who is such a good 3-point shooting team throughout the year, was 9 of 42 in this game. And the zone definitely impacted things, but Boston just has really bad habits. And the bad habits is they settle too much for tough threes.
Yes.
It was crazy how excited I got watching on my couch, seeing Horford hit a corner 3 off good ball movement, attacking the paint, getting the ball swinging around the perimeter, and creating a 3 instead of Marcus Smart taking a terribly contested 3. Or Jaylen Brown, who was really, really bad in this game. They just play a frustrating style of basketball. And Miami does a great job at making you pay for it.
Well, and you say it's frustrating. It's frustrating because it's inconsistent. Because you're exactly right. Those moments that you mentioned that you enjoy, it's like they are capable of playing great team basketball. When that ball is swinging around, guys are making shots. But it's not even guys making shots. It's everyone acting like a threat. And Al Horford at times was just getting the ball, make it a quick decision. And the quick decision was always to pass out. It was never to like take a jump stop, square to the basket, and look if he wants to be more impactful in the paint for his squad on the offensive end. So there was too many of those moments. And then you mentioned it with Jaylen Brown. I mean, did he finish with 8 turnovers? We'll confirm that, but I believe it was 8 turnovers that Jaylen Brown finished with. And I mentioned one of the last ones to you. It was like Bam was on him, and he started to go. He put the ball down, so it wasn't a travel, but you see his feet shuffle, right? But he's putting the ball down, and
he's trying to go left.
He's not doing it with a purpose. He's like, I don't know why I'm going this way. I think just because there's a gap and I'm going to try to attack it. It wasn't like he thought about, all right, go here. My guard's going to relocate there. Boom, I'm going to be threat inside the paint. You know, Robert Williams isn't in. Boom, whatever. It wasn't that. It was like he was thinking too hard and then fumbled the ball, and Caleb Martin ended up getting a steal on that. It wasn't pretty confident basketball from Jaylen Brown. And when Jason Tatum wasn't in full health mode tonight, you needed Jaylen Brown to step up on a different level.
And Jaylen Brown did not. He finished with 19 points. He had 8 rebounds, 5 assists, but he had 8 turnovers in this game. 8 turnovers in this game.
Brutal.
And he was 8 of 23, including 1 of 9 from 3. You're right, with Tatum being a really... I'm not going to say a non-factor, but he's just not his typical threat. I mean, I give
both ends.
Tatum so much credit for playing tonight. And, of course, like you're going to want to play. It was the first play of the game. You want to get out there and keep going. He plays 42 minutes in this game. He had 14 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 5 of 13 shooting. But you could just see it just wasn't the same Jason Tatum. He couldn't get to the basket. He had a couple of plays, but even when he'd go up for like a jam or lay it back up, he's coming down and he is favoring it. He was grimacing the entire time. And then defensively, they didn't really make him pay too much until later.
I did not understand that.
This guy is on one leg right now, and they needed other guys to step up. Derek White stepped up in the third when he had 13 points. I'm like, God, is this going to be a Derek White, Caleb Martin showdown in Game 7 of the conference finals? What the hell? But Marcus Smart tonight. Marcus Smart was 4 of 10, 1 of 6 from 3. Jaylen Brown, we just talked about how inefficient he was. And then, Tatum not being able to do his thing because he's hurt. That's a Game 7 loss on your home floor.